All right, everyone, welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. We'll give a sec for some people to start flooding in. Um, but feel free to ask any questions, post any questions you have in the chat, and we can definitely discuss them. So I'll give it a minute for some people to start making sure we all have everyone joined in, and then we will go ahead and get started. Again, post in the chat if you have any questions. All right, we can go ahead and get started. We got a few people in here today. Um, Few new faces too, things that people I haven't seen before, at least me personally haven't seen in Lunch and Learn. So welcome. I am Jeremy. I'm leading the call today. I'm happy to go over and discuss a couple questions. I do see we're having a couple questions in the Q&A, so we'll get to talking about those. Um, I do just want to quick highlight what these QR codes are for, so that everyone's got kind of an idea. But always want to highlight our YouTube channel just because we do post a lot of videos up here. You can see on our decision support YouTube channel, we do post all of our lunch and learns. So if you want to have an idea, if you asked questions and you want to see those things again, or if you're just curious about maybe some of the other things that may have happened during a lunch and learn, you can always come check this out and view them. We also put up a number of other things for content as well, some videos about things like, different concepts that can be used in decisions. So, here's an example. A few days ago, we have a report views video, and we had a one for database views a little while ago. And we're also doing videos on steps, so focused on a specific step. In this case, this example here is run flows for list step, and also upgrades to decisions. So like 9.2 feature enhancements and breaking changes and things, videos discussing those topics as well. So great place to check things out. Another place to check a lot of good information out is on the marketplace.decisions.com. Here we have a bunch of different applications that you can export and place into your decisions environment if you want to play around with them or if you think any of these might be useful. A number are featured ones that are, really popular and really big, but a number of other ones as well. And so if any of these stick out to you, it's definitely worth, clicking on one, learning more, checking it out, downloading it, trying things out. But otherwise, we will go ahead and kind of get started. We have a couple questions in the chat, so I will just start with the first ones that I saw, and we'll hopefully get through them. And again, if you have more questions while we're working and while we're doing my best to answer some of these things, we can definitely talk more. So please feel free to ask away and elaborate and everything. So the first question we have is from Izette Holm. And the question is, how do we implement dynamic scrolling for mandatory fields? Izette, I'm going to give you the opportunity to actually speak if you would like to. If you don't mind kind of further expanding what exactly you're referring to and what you're kind of looking for here in this specific case. Sorry, I'll say that again in case you I missed it. If you could just elaborate a little bit more. I don't think I quite know exactly what you're looking for with this, just with the question being a little bit vague. Um, I gave you the opportunity to talk. You can unmute yourself and speak if you'd like, or if you want to just type a little bit more specifics. Implementing dynamic scrolling for mandatory fields.
Thank you so much for the. Sorry. So I have a page on my users that need to know what other mandatory fields they need to conduct, but then at the top part, when they've initially added the mandatory fields required, there's still some mandatory fields at the bottom of the page. And I kind of want to assist them by knowing how to get to the bottom so it can, if they've completed the top mandatory field, that it can just kind of scroll down to the bottom.
Got it. Okay. So you're saying like if I have a form and let's just say it's really short and I've got fields down here that I want someone to complete, but they're kind of hidden because they're further down and a user would have to scroll to get them. You want to make it so that it automatically pops down here for them to see it,
Yes.
right?
After they have kind of completed the first field that's at the top page, top part. So say you've got a tab there, that's also mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've completed this top field, and now there's still a necessary mandatory one at the bottom. So after completing that top one, it should scroll to the bottom.
Got it. Hmm. My my initial thought is I don't think we have anything that can automatically do this. Um, unless someone else knows. I don't believe we have any kind of like auto scrolling feature.
Yeah.
Um,
Anything that's going to be action oriented is going to be through Java, almost certainly, a JavaScript. Just our forms are not, don't have much action oriented things like that, where it like if you select a button, it automatically scrolls you to the bottom. That'd be a more of a JavaScript control.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so you can mess around with you can create custom Java things. I know like it that can obviously get a little complex. If you do have like a need for it, like obviously like one solution is trying to reorganize your forms. It's not obviously optimal, but if you want to, work on designing or figuring out a different way to design your form so you don't have that. I know some people may just prefer that over JavaScript controls. Um, if you have anyone that's comfortable with JavaScript controls and kind of doing that, then you can do that as well. And if that still is difficult and something that you really need to do or prefer to do, the support team, if you get in contact with them, they can, reach out with, and typically I believe, more custom things like that. They can get you set up with like one of our devs that can help kind of work around and figure some things like that out for you. So if it is something that you very much need, prefer the support at decisions.com. If you send an email to them saying, I'm looking for this, they can either help you figure that out or get someone to help build that for you if you're needing to set that up.
Thank you, will do.
And then I will also, I'll just throw this in the chat as well. Just posted a link in the Zoom chat. Thanks, Jasmine, for sending that to me. Just our documentation on JavaScript form controls. So you can take a look at that too, and that may at least give you a little bit of insight into what is required to get that set up.
Thank you so much for that link.
No problem. All right. We'll move on to our next question. And we have another question from Walton. Hi, I would like to calculate the completeness of a participant profile using a rule table. What is the most efficient way to do this? All right. Walton, I'll give you the opportunity to speak as well if you want to further expand a little bit on what you're looking for here.
Yeah. So what I did was I actually I could do the so I could do this with hello, is it? Um, so basically, what we want to do is we have participants that they have to complete forms, and we want to calculate those forms using or the completeness of those forms using a rule table. But the difficulty is I've played around with the rule table so far, and what what I've accomplished so far is to check if the fields are completed, and if those fields are completed, it gives me a certain score. But if one of those fields is not completed, then it doesn't give me a score, it just says failed. So I would want to know a way to calculate the completeness and those fields. Yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, I think um yes, what exactly type of rule are you referring to? You're trying to make a truth table out of it? Is that what you meant by rule table or something else?
So quickly go to click on rule set.
Oh, okay, so you're doing it with a rule set.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah, rule set was definitely my immediate thought of something to do here. Okay. And so when you're setting up your rule set, I guess I can ask, what kind of settings did you have, or were you trying to work with here? You said you're working on trying to do a rule table
I'm just trying to go to
or
my
something
one,
else.
but it's loading very slowly now.
Got it.
Uh, Yeah, it's probably a rule table. If you go down, so no, I didn't select any of that. Yeah, I was only using the rule table one.
Okay. Okay. So then you're saying, so based on the results here, right? You're outputting results. Is there anything
Yeah,
else like specific? How are you like, is it all Boolean values? Are you trying to get it? How are you outputting your data?
with numbers. So it's a number, like say
Got it.
100. Yeah.
Okay. And then if it fails, then is it like you want it to be a certain number?
Yeah, so for instance, it's running through all the rules that I've set up. So it's running through all the fields, and it's checking if there's data in or not.
Right.
I want it to give me a certain score. So if 50% of the fields is filled in, it should give me the number 50. Um, I don't know if that's making more sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering, have you considered or looked at the scoring option for the way that you use your rule set?
No, not yet.
So this might, I don't know for sure if this is going to be in the right. So obviously logical makes it only Boolean. Data return is, I'm assuming, what you're using because you're outputting your specific numbers. But scoring allows you to provides like a score based on the outputs, and there's like defaults, right? You can just add them all
Mm.
up or whatever. But you can also build your own custom like scoring strategy. And so if like that may kind of like stick out, and I actually have an example of this already, so I can kind of show you just a general idea of how it might look. This is just one of our training projects, and
Yep.
in this case, we do it because we have a custom score that we want to make that calculates a number of different like financial loan inputs, and then
Yeah.
calculates based on the results. We have different scores for them, and
Okay.
so when you set scoring as an option and you do custom scoring, it'll add a flow to your rule set for you, and that's the flow where you calculate your score. And obviously, if it's just a simple sum or average or whatever, then you don't need the flow. But if you use custom, it'll create this flow for you, and then you can build out whatever you want. So in our case, we use the results of your truth table, and we
Okay.
check the different rules that we run in our truth table by name. So I have a string match step in this one to just check, because I have these 4 rules running. So like, DTI, monthly income, whatever. It checks the results of these other rules that I have set.
Yeah.
And then based on those rules, I have it check a different value. And then from here, I can actually like provide the scores of these things.
Okay.
And so then I'll whatever add them all together and get my like final result. So this is all just kind of multiplying and adding, and then each of these individual rules that I'm running in the truth table, or sorry, in the rule set, are truth tables that are checking different data within in this case, I'm checking like numbers, right? So I
Yeah.
can check and say, hey, if it's this, give it this score number. If it's this, give it this score number. If it's this score number, and so on. And so maybe my guess is maybe with your rule table that you're trying to use, if everything is all there at once, it may be difficult to kind of consolidate it,
Okay.
and kind of output like, well, what happens if it doesn't reach those things? But
Yeah.
maybe this may work like setting up a number of different uh, truth tables that
Yeah.
set for like each like certain parts of forms, breaking it down and breaking it apart. So then you can have your numbers for 100%, whatever, down to 0. That way, pass versus fail, you don't have to worry about any like direct fail numbers. And then
Yeah.
if they're separated out, you can compute them all together into one final score, whatever that may kind of lead you in a different direction.
Okay.
I don't.
So what you're saying is that like with all these if statements there, I should create one for each field saying if that field has data, give it that score, and say if the full name field has data, give it that score. If the contact number field has data, give it that score, and then like so I'll have like quite a few down here, and then then it will be then it will be computed in this flow up here.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and maybe worth exploring. So I would definitely give that a shot and see if that kind of
Yeah.
helps and
Yeah.
avoids that issue of fail and kind of messing up those fails, messing up your score.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That makes sense.
All right.
Thanks so much, Jeremy.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see here. Okay, how do we use, is that adding another question? Oh, so we're gonna go back to kind of what I started to look at before with my mandatory field stuff. Um, and you're still able to speak, is that if you'd like to further elaborate, but I'll read it out loud so everyone can hear. How do we rather use mandatory field names in validation errors to assist users in navigating to the mandatory fields?
Hi, thank you. So in our flow, once we say like approve or going on to the next page, and it's showing us the validation errors of people needing to complete, those type of validation errors is coming up for the users that don't understand what it means underscore data, or the validation error is talking to people that understand the program, not necessarily just a user trying to use decisions to complete. So I'm wanting to use the actual field name that we've added, if that makes sense.
Yep. Let me let me just throw this into a flow real quick, just to kind of show this. Click. So you're saying, like, when I hit submit, the data that's appearing is like it says text box 1 must be specified, and you're saying in your example you have that, like, that text is not fun to read, or not, like, I guess obvious for a user. Is that what you mean?
That's exactly what I mean.
Okay, got it. So, in looking at this, the default message just pulls directly from data name. So it doesn't pull from the name, like general name, it'll pull from the data name. So, and one obvious solution is making the data name, you know, like readable. But if you don't want to worry about the data name, there are other ways you can make validation messages appear. Active form flows is one of those. Because um, when you're building an active form flow for a form, there are a number of steps that can only be found in active form flows. And one of those is for setting and clearing validations. And this is a great way that you can actually set your own, like, custom validation issues to appear. So then you can actually check data. You can build this flow to have a rule to assess what the data was that was typed in, or anything like that. So if you want it to be more like customized on what that validation error is, you can always use this. And so how it works is, if I want to set validations on something, or you may have to have like a rule here, but to like check, like one popular example just might be, I want to check if the data that they put in like a certain text box is specific, like some very specific thing that I want. So I could say, I want to check if whatever they typed into the box is the word dog. And then your source will come from your form data, and then, the values that got typed into that thing. So in a text box is value, that it'll actually check what that value. And if you want, you can make it like check if the value exists, or anything like that, or if the length of the string in the value is more than 0, if you want it to just check whether or not it was even there. So, any rule that you can create in decisions, even just something with whether it exists. So we have like basic rules like that. I think we have length rules. Length greater than, right? You can use a rule to, if you want to like check if the string length is greater than something. A lot of different ways that you can actually start that. But then say, okay, if it contains dog, then I don't want any validations to appear. But if it doesn't contain this, or if it fails the rule that I want it, then I want to set a validation. And then you get to pick what form control you want the validation to appear on, right? So this is my validation for my text box, so I want it to appear on the text box. And then I can set the validation issues to say, all right, what do I want the validation issue to say? Do I want it to just be a general warning? Do I want it to be fatal, meaning like that it'll block them from submitting if it's set to fatal? And then the message, right? I can type whatever I want in this. So I can make it very readable. So then I can say, hey, if you did not fill this out properly, then please do that, right? And then that can be a reference to the label that's, telling you what it is. And then just don't forget to use clear validations, because it is not a temporary validation set. So you'll set the validation on that box space, and then if you don't have a way to clear it on the other pathway of your rule, then that validation will stay there perpetually. So always make sure you also use a clear validations in the case of, all right, what if they do fix it or add data to it or whatever. And so then I'll show you how this actually works, just so you can see it. You do need to set triggers as well. So this is saying like when will it actually check this and how often will it check it? And you can have it run like auto run after like so often. Obviously, you want to be very careful with this because that could be causing performance hits if there's a lot of things to check. You can have it run at startup, as soon as the thing opens. You can have it run like I think in the most cases it would just be based on when someone actually puts data in here. So like on the text box, I can do it anytime they click on the text box or click out of the text box, anytime they change a value inside the text box. If you want, a value change will be every single like type, like letter that they type. If it's a text box, maybe stops typing is a little bit better. So it'll wait a little bit to make sure that they're, if they're done typing some data into the box or something like that. But either way, like something like this, kind of set to yourself what you think would make the most sense for a trigger. So it'll run this flow that I just built every time this trigger happens. So then it'll say, okay, once someone stops typing, run this flow, check the data, and then I can check and see if it, did what I wanted it to do. If you want, in your case, you said you want it to like actually block people, you want it to be mandatory. So you want to make sure that you check your checkbox for whatever outcomes you have that you want them to be mandatory for. Typically I know people will have just a submit and a cancel button. And so you want it to be mandatory for them to hit the submit button, then make sure that you have run for outcomes checked there. So that way it'll make sure that you can only hit the submit button if this validation error is not there. So set all those things up. And then if I go and I debug and run this again, I got those like values there, but let's say I type cat, which based on the data that I said is not okay. Then I'll have my data. Oh, I think I did something wrong here. Oh, I've left something. Oops. Let me fix that real quick. I think I set that to be ignored without thinking. Yeah, I meant to be constant. We want it to be case insensitive because I don't care about capitals and lowercase. Let's try this again. Debug. Someone types in data that I want to cause a validation issue, and now I have that. Please fill out the text box validation issue popping up. Because I have it to run for the outcomes, if they try to hit submit with a value that doesn't match, it'll also appear down here at the bottom. So I get the validation issue appearing on the actual item itself and on the bottom. And it's just testing for those triggers. If it's simply filling, like fillable, whether or not it's fillable, then you'll see that on the submit button. But your flow should be checking for that and then displaying your actual custom error. And then as soon as they have actual data there or if it's specific data that they need to include, right now my validation is cleared because I did provide information that passes my rule and the user should be able to submit.
Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense and will help a lot.
Okay, of course. Yeah, happy to help.
I do have another question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Say I've got two tabs and I've got, I'm really killing the mandatory fields. Say I've got two tabs and for them to action that submit button, they need to complete mandatory fields on both tabs. Is there a way for it to kind of show the second tab header as a different color, just so that the user knows to go onto a different tab and also complete fields there?
I believe I think by default it is always just going to be red. I don't think you can normally change it.
So
Yeah, I don't
the
think you
red
can
is
just
not the red is not a problem. I'm just wondering if we can change the actual tab B title.
like this to change color. Never messed a lot with active form flows in the tab containers themselves. My best guess is this would probably just to get something like that to work, you'd have to work with CSS. Um, I think just out of the box in general, I don't think there is something that can manipulate that exactly in the way that you're looking for. I know I could like you can make the background itself like change, but that's just the background of like the whole tab container, not a specific tab. So I would think that this would need to be, I would think that messing around with CSS would be your best option here to try to figure out if you can adjust that. Unless someone else in the call here knows, I have not personally messed with it that much, so I don't know for sure if you even can do that at all.
Thanks.
Mhm.
I'll get someone to mess around with CSS.
Yeah, that's another thing too. If you're having difficulty, you can try reaching out to our support team and they may be able to help lead you in the right direction or at least get you on the radar of someone that knows a bit more about it. Let's see what, I mean, if you grab the specific tabs, yeah, the only values of like the actual tabs themselves or whether or not they're viewable or enabled. So I don't, yeah, you can grab the current active tab. So maybe if there was some CSS you could have to change the color or something like that, you could maybe run a rule that checks the like current tabs or something about the tabs in here to then work with it. But yeah, that would definitely need quite a bit of testing once you even have CSS to get those colors the way you want them.
Thanks for checking that out. I will.
Mhm. Right. I don't have any other questions. This is the last chance. Anyone else in our call today have any other questions? If you do, you can either speak up or type it in the chat.
Great. Is this a space where I could ask about data mining? Or process mining, sorry.
I could do my best, but I don't know if I'll have. I'll go ask away, and if I don't know, I can try to direct you in the right place, or I can ask someone. So go ahead.
So I'd literally just started going through the training today and I've
Mhm.
imported a CSV file, but once I'm checking the roles at the top bar, I only have sources, not how your car mechanic example shows roles. How do I make sure that my actual import has the right stuff so that roles show up instead of sources?
Mm, This might be a little difficult to check for you without me having an actual process mining server to open at the moment.
Completely understand. Don't worry. I can also reach out.
Yeah, yeah, you might have to send out a message to. It'll take me some time to get a process mining server open for me to look at it and answer your question. If you email training@decisions.com, um, and like even if you have like a screenshot or two to show us, we can definitely take a quick I can definitely take like a look and get one open for you to respond back, and we can either get on a Zoom call to look at it or whatever that may be. So let's just do that. Can you just email training@decisions.com, maybe send a screenshot or two of what you're looking at, and then in a little while I can get back with you and take a closer look.
I'll most definitely do that because I have asked for like at the support way through it, and I have not
Mhm.
received yet a response on that. So I will definitely do training@decisions.com. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, anything that's specific to like the training course. So like that training course, like on the learn.decisions.com, the training team can help with those. And anything else that's like specific about projects or like the other questions you're asking today, that's better for Lunch and Learn and the support uh team. All right. Well, with that, we will go ahead and end our Lunch and Learn for today. Um, just as a general reminder, we don't do the lunch and learns on Fridays, so we will continue starting next week. Hopefully that schedule will come out of who will be leading it and everything throughout the week. All of these recordings do go up on YouTube. Walton, I see your question. We will get it on YouTube once we have the time to render the recording and everything like that. We'll make sure that this gets put on YouTube. So then anyone can always check back and view that. So you can always check out Decision Support channel, subscribe and all that stuff. Hit the notification bell if you want to like be notified when that does come up, or just check on it and you should see. Obviously, you can see yesterday's recording, so we'll hopefully get today's recording up once we get that all uploaded and everything. So thank you all for joining us today. Always happy to answer questions, and we will see people next week.